All right. Hey, y'all. This is my pitch that I'd like to get people to work on me for a Untitled multiplayer arena shooter. Um, the core gameplay is derived mostly from some combination of Quake and Super Smash Bros., where it's a 3D first-person shooter, and players shoot each other with weapons to inflict damage, and you collect weapons to shoot at people with across the map, which the ammo and weapons would respawn at intervals. Each weapon applies a different knockback force to your opponents, and this knockback force scales with the amount of damage that your opponent has taken, just like how it works in Smash Brothers. A player dies by falling off the map or being knocked far into a death barrier, and then explosives and parts of the map can be used for movement, like on yourself, which also scales with the damage you've taken. And it would generally have very open maps for lots of movement potential to outmaneuver and fight enemies in. This is the basic outline for a weapon system. Obviously, none of this is close to final, but like having like a weapon like a machine gun, a nail gun that shoots very fast, does very low damage, low knockback, and then like a shotgun, you can get up close, do a lot of damage. Rocket launcher, which is more of a skill shot. You have to think about where your projectile is going. Also can be used for movement. A railgun, which is like a hit scan sniper weapon, obviously would be very powerful. And then I was also thinking like a grenade that doesn't do damage but does knock people back a good bit that can be used to set up different combinations of while playing. And a melee weapon just in case you run out of ammo. In match gameplay, players would start in different locations with different weapons, at least 2 players in a match. Any weapons that are not spawned with, which would be a decision making as we keep working on the game, can be picked up throughout the map. Each player has a certain number of lives, which may be decided or fixed by the players. When you die, you lose a life, and the last player standing with a life left is the winner. Pretty basic. The UI, I think, would be pretty standard for a first-person shooter, like having your ammo and health near the bottom of the screen, very easily visible. Since there's so few weapons, possibly, it might be good to have all the weapons ammo on the screen at one time, like older shooters do. I think damage numbers above players when you hit them is a must, just for clarity on what you're doing. And possibly an indication for when you're near a death barrier, since that may be hard to gauge in 3D space. I think for map and visual design, I think I'd like to go with darker maps where different interactable elements such as enemies, pickups, weapons, and like jump pads can contrast with the background a lot. I think it'd be good to have players represented with very bright colors that are very different than one another, just so that it's clear where the enemies are at any given time, and obviously very open maps. Doesn't really show up that well since it's a dark image on here, but I think this type of map is good where it has different platforms that you can move between. So the minimum viable product would be having a completable match with at least 2 players I think it'd be very easy to do the minimum viable product with split screen. That way we don't have to deal with online multiplayer very early, and we can test how the game mechanics feel a lot earlier than if we went with online multiplayer at first. At least having the melee machine gun and a high knockback weapon so that the core game flow can be tested and played and work as intended. At least 1 map and just mouse and keyboard controls for default. Stretch goals would be to have a lot of options for matches, just like most multiplayer games do. Have like adjustable timers, multipliers, different default weapons, colors for every player, etc. Multiple maps would be good. Support for different keybinds and control schemes, such as controller. And then also a much bigger stretch goal would be to have online multiplayer functioning with more than 2 players. Risks and challenges, kind of a programming challenge. would be online multiplayer and split screen multiplayer, because both of them have different challenges. Split screen would be a little simpler. I would just have to learn. We would have to learn how to work with different inputs for that. But I would like programmers on my team to help me with that. And my experience with map design and 3D modeling and map creation with 3D objects is very limited. So I think that would be something that would be a challenge if I were working on it on my own. Design challenges, it may be difficult to balance the core gameplay with an FPS loadout. This is a very well-tested concept. Yeah.
Thank you.
This concept has been obviously proven in 2D fighting games before, but in an FPS game, it may prove to be more challenging to balance. And it could be very hard to make the physics feel correct. I know I've had troubles making physics feel right in Unity Engine before, and it's something that might come across here since this game would be very physics-based. For a development timeline, I think the first week would just be to get a basic prototype ready, at least one weapon, have the knockback relative to damage system working on a dummy type enemy that doesn't really move. The next month or so, I think, would be about adding more core mechanics, like more of the weapons, make map pickup systems work, have the UI functioning, and code the match playing system. For the next month after that, I think it'd be good to get multiplayer working, have it possible for players to play against each other in split screen play first. And I think this would be the point where we would reach an alpha stage, assuming we have good map design and whatnot. And past this, it would just be about polishing mechanics and adding more content. And that's all I have. Any questions? With Aaron?
This is in Unity, right?
Yes, I would be doing Unity.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
Any questions?
How do you visualize is this like something like a random gun thing where you try to move until you find someone and then try to beat them, like get them off the stage, or is it more like maybe my question is, how do you envision the map design so that how the gameplay is going to be affected by the map design? I don't know if I make myself.
Well, firstly, I said I wanted open maps. Like, I would not want to have a map that's closed in, because part of the gameplay is trying to knock people off the map. So it would be necessary for the map to be open in such a way that players can easily fall off, such as in the picture I had here, where it's just you see a void out past the map. And then also I probably wouldn't have a ceiling or anything, because there would be death barriers to the side and above you. So that's kind of how I feel the map would interact with the gameplay.
So like a 3D Smash map, right?
Exactly.
Or if you put like Quake, like OG Quake.
Yeah. Like a lot of OG Quake map design has these very open maps that look like they could be fighting game maps in some way, and I think that's the route I would go. What's it?
Did you want to start working on this over winter break or starting next semester?
Either or works for me. It would depend on how many people I got on my team. If it ended up being an individual project, I'd probably do a lot of it over winter break. But if I get enough people on my team, it would be good to start that development timeline past finals. Yes.
Another question, what types of people are you looking for your game?
So I would be looking definitely for at least one programmer. I would really, really appreciate having a 3D artist on the team, because I have no clue how to do any of that, and without one, this game will be flooded with programmer art. It would also be really nice to have someone who has worked with map design before, 3D map design specifically, because the last time I tried building a map in Unity, it was a struggle because I didn't really know how to use TextMesh Pro and stuff. So if someone was very familiar with something like that, or not TextMesh Pro, it's yes, exactly, Pro Builder. Having someone familiar with that would be great.
That's it. Thank you, Phillips.
Thank you.
there any 3D artists in here other than Mitchell?
Alright, let's go.
Oh man.
Which just means I get all the work. I can get it done.